Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. In our last episode of this continuing podcast series, we addressed two of the three denied reasons that the defense had brought forward for a continuance of the trial, which the court addressed in the redacted memorandum decision and order on defendant's motion to continue. Per page 1 of this court order, Judge Hippler states, second, he, that is Mr. Kohberger, ladies and gentlemen, asserts that there is penalty phase investigation and preparation that still needs to be done. By way of background, ladies and gentlemen, this is a capital case. If there is a conviction, then matters would proceed into the sentencing or the penalty phase, where the issue before the jury then becomes, what should the penalty be in this case? The section of this filing that deals with this issue begins on page 5, and for the next several pages, it is redacted heavily in certain points. It begins with the section B. Judge Hippler writes, defendant next argues he needs additional time to investigate and prepare mitigation evidence, which he contends is necessary to uphold his constitutional rights. Specifically, the defense team claims that to be effective, counsel must conduct an exhaustive and comprehensive dive into defendant's, quote, life history for additional mitigation evidence, analyzing the information into a cohesive narrative for the jury and to identify any additional behavioral, cultural, scientific, and or mental health experts that may be necessary to develop the mitigation presentation. So essentially, this is in the event of a conviction where the defense would be offering evidence to, for want of a better term, help to prevent the ultimate penalty from being imposed on Mr. Kohberger. From doing this life history that they've stated here, they have not had sufficient time to do in order to present this evidence in a cohesive, in a proper manner for the jury to be able to digest, consider, and to understand. And then the court goes into, on page number 7, the investigation that defendants' experts have undertaken over the past 2+ years, and says that this far exceeds the Roe standard. This is the case law that governs this issue. So it goes, according to Judge Hippler, above what the law requires. And then the court gives a listing, part of which is redacted here. Next page continues with further redactions, even heavier redactions on page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. So it's difficult to understand here what specifically the defense is saying because of these redactions. But the bottom line, page 13, the court says, defendant provides absolutely no plan for how further investigation will proceed, who will be interviewed, or how long it will take. The Constitution does not demand, and this court is not willing to continue the trial indefinitely, to allow the defense team to embark on a fishing expedition, pulling at every conceivable thread in defendant's familial tapestry. At some point, and particularly after 2.5 years of investigation, the defense team must be satisfied with what they have, which in this case is extensive. In addition, while the crime victim's rights to a timely disposition under the Idaho Constitution and Idaho statutes cited here do not trump the defendant's federal constitutional rights, they provide an initial justification for proceeding with trial as scheduled. A continuance is not warranted. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone. Thank you for joining us today.